So welcome everybody. The fifth and the last session of the GCCM Americas here in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to talk about the messaging market today and tomorrow and capitalizing on the APIs. So let's see if we can, educate a little bit. Maybe hopefully you get something out of this session, and otherwise I hope it was just watching a nice Netflix thingy. So let's hope. Okay, I'll give them a quick minute to introduce themselves. Then we'll have I'm very happy and honored to have Mitch next to me here to do a presentation with BTS and their view on the world in messaging. And then we'll go into a quick discussion. And we're going to stop roughly 12:30 because, you will be hangry again, right? So we'll do that. So without further ado, Michel, maybe you want to start? Quick intro?
Awesome. My name is Michel Faleni. I've been in industry for longer than I would like to accept, about 20 odd years.
I know what you're talking about. That was not funny, by the way, guys.
We do not talk of those things anymore,
No,
right?
no, we don't.
Agreed. All right, so I've been around in the industry, worked for a couple of companies, actually started my career about 20 odd years ago in BTS, then moved on to Tata Communications, where I worked as an account manager, and then moved to VIX to manage the Americas region, and landed back in BTS 3 or 4 years ago, and in charge of the emerging services, basically anything that's non-legacy. For BTS, legacy was voice. So anything else that has come up to the new business, BTS has put me in charge of, and we have been doing so for the last almost 4 years now.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I think you have a microphone, guys, over there.
We do.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mario Rojas. I am the managing director for Ergolux, which is a firm that I established in Costa Rica some 12-something years ago when the Latin American market was deregulating. So I'm not currently involved in the messaging market, but I have a long-standing career alongside Mr. Faleni here. I've been in charge of messaging operations for the companies that I worked for, including Tata, Digicel, and as of late, Twilio. And but again, today I just want to contribute based on that experience, which is not the most fresh or recent, but I certainly have comments about the most recent developments around the space.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Cristiano Ferraz. I am the CTO for Netcon Americas. I see from some of the people here that one thing happens which reminds me of our history teacher back in high school, Dona Morgadinha. She was an excellent teacher, and I remember very well how she told us about the English Revolution and the beheading of the king, the first beheading of a king in the modern world, and we were all in awe of her. But we concluded that she knew so much because she had lived through all those historic events. For her age, she had been there. She had been present.
He's even
there,
worse than me.
And I am under the impression that some of the people.
Can somebody get this guy out of here?
Well, yeah, we have been in this long enough, right? Netcon Americas is a company that specializes in rendering visible what is usually invisible in a network, from the physical layer up to the topological layer. So whatever you have in connections in your network may be plotted upon a geo-referenced database, which employs a primary information model that enables all applications to communicate with it, exchange information, and you always have an up-to-date view of the networks, the customers, the services, their location, and whatever network elements are there. And on top of that, we build, for example, digital twins for data centers where you can see the whole equipment that is in data centers and whatever connections there are there, their bay faces, up to towers, for example, telecommunication towers. And on top of that, we partner with software development partners, for example, that convert API models so as to allow a very short time to service in the network. So that's what we do. Our company is we're originally based in Brazil, then we moved into the US. We have an office here in Miami, and we take care of the whole American continent from here. Present here is Eduardo Langrafe. He is our Chief Operations Officer for the Americas, and also a very good partner of us, which you know very well too. He used to work with you, right, Mike?
Who?
Carlos.
Brito, yeah.
Yeah.
Brito, yes.
Yep.
From AT&T days.
Yep. Okay, so that's
Thank you, Cristiano. Last but not least, Mike, please.
Good morning. I'm certain most of you have already met me. If you haven't, this is your moment before I head back to the jungles of the Amazon. Thank you. My name is Mike Singh. I'm from Guyana. So I say good morning, buenos dias, bon dia, whatever. I don't know Polish, so I mistake me a culpa there. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm no expert in API, but of course I know about messaging, who doesn't? And it's a pleasure to be recycled. I was here yesterday, and I'm back again. Thank you. You're doing your bit in terms of your carbon footprint by recycling me.
Thank you so much. And you see, recycling does work. Right? So thank you so much, and I'm happy to have, and very honored to have these senior, execs here, talking together with me about, a topic which everybody is, day to day. We do this, and with this, I'm also happy that the BTS is sponsoring this session. So thank you for that, Ricardo and team, and Mitch. I think it's over to you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so I hopefully not gonna bore you to death with this presentation. Is really about looking at what we think the market is evolving into, sharing our thoughts, and seeing if you guys agree, disagree, or we can have a conversation on it. So yeah, that worked a little while ago. Technical difficulties. Ice breaking. Is it me or is it you? Okay, now it's working. All right, so sadly, the market, we see a deep decline on the market in the coming years, right? We're looking at today's market. For SMS in general, we see a decline on the CAGR of about 3.55% by 2027. The saddest part of it is actually on the OTPs, which is basically the source of international messaging, is declining even further, right? We've worked to identify the reasons, and I think, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit. I think we all know, and again, it's open for discussion on this panel and on this room. But there are several things that we've done to make sure that decline is happening, and I think it's a little bit on us to take a little bit of the blame, right? So yeah, a little bit of facts here. 80% of the international market is OTP. By 2027, we believe that percentage is going to decrease dramatically to under 40%, right? Again, not something that we as companies in the business would like to see. Eric and I were talking about it before. We've been saying that voice is going to die for the last 20 years. I think A2P will really die in a very, very short period of time if we don't take actions to correct what's happening, right, as an industry. 80% of this traffic comes from the big brands, right? Hyperscalers, we all know who they are. We don't need to mention them, but it's different to voice. There's only, say, 10 companies in the world that are in charge of generating all of these messages. Compared to voice, where every single one of us contribute as human beings to the traffic continuing. In this case, the ones that get impacted is only a handful of companies. So by impacting negatively their books, they're gonna take action, and that's what we are seeing in the market, right? Again, a little bit of what I was saying before. Increased cost to these top brands. they have the technology to evolve, they have the technology to change, and by increasing their cost of operations, we're kind of forcing them to take action and move away from A to P. Not only that, but also it's become a very fraudulent prone environment. I remember 3, 4, 5 years ago, A2P took off because everybody trusted A2P, right? Everybody trusted messaging. It was a very safe environment. Now we have phishing, smishing, all kinds of phishing, and it's just degraded the trust on these markets or in this product. And I think that has also helped these companies to move away from that, right? In conversations with Google, whomever is in conversations with these guys, they came up with a table, basically very straightforward. If your price is above X, or a market price for a specific network is above X, we're gonna reduce our send to that market by Y. And if it's above B, it's gonna be even further, all the way to reducing up to 75 to 80% of the traffic into the market. And not too long ago, we were in Dubai, I think it was February, March of this year. They had disconnectors stop verifying a full country, right? They didn't keep it for long, but at least they did it for 5 or 6 days, where, who's impacted is the operators. Who are we gonna blame as a subscriber is the operators not delivering the messages. We're never gonna think about, Google not sending the message. So again, it's bad marketing for the operators to keep on taking these actions. And so again, I think it's very straightforward. If we don't correct this somehow, the trend is unstoppable. I mean, it's gonna keep on moving that direction, and it's not gonna change, right? So one of the main reasons, I think, is the frantic A2P monetization that started happening all over the world. Overestimated agreements, and this is us validating as a telco community these practices, the operators becoming greedy because they saw through RFP processes that there's more to be made. It got to the point, and it is at the point right now, to my opinion, where the operators don't even care what the size of that agreement is. They just want to see a bigger and bigger and bigger number. We've done probably 20 or 30 of these exercises, and it's crazy, right? I mean, it gets to the point where you do your calculations. We are actually the provider or the partner for Digicel in the Pacific, and we've participated with Digicel in the Caribbean as well. These guys are going with 25, 30, 40% over what's realistic. And they're committing hard money on it. They're prepaying, supposedly, or they're signing the agreement saying that they're prepaying, and the operators believe in that practice. And the only way to get to those revenues is by either generating AIT, artificial inflated traffic, right? Who's paying for that fake traffic is Google, Facebook, all the 5 brands that we talked about before, or increasing the prices to a level where it's unsustainable for these big brands. Again, who's paying that price is the Googles of the world, right? Bottom line is, doesn't matter how you look at it, there's 5 to 10 companies paying for all that money. And they have the technology to replace A2P. Again, if we don't correct these practices, if we don't work together as an industry, if we don't come together to an agreement is not the right way to put it, but to clean it up, it's just gonna die. I mean, between the AIT, between all the fraudulent practices and high prices, it's just not gonna last much longer. And again, who's at fault? This is open for discussion, right? We believe that, including us, we've all been putting a little bit of our grain of salt or our contribution towards trying to get access to these A2P agreements. And yeah, there was money. There was a lot of money involved. There was a lot of opportunities for many of the operators. But the reality is that they are unrealistic. We've basically pulled out of, again, 29 out of the 30 we participated on, where we came, either second or third on all of them. Our technical proposal was right on spot. I mean, as many of you know, we have our own self-developed tools. Sonok is in charge of all the development of BTS's tools. It's top notch. It's been done for the last 30 years, proven over and over again. So from a technological and tools perspective, I don't think we're second to none, basically. Our expertise, our global footprint is also super, super big. We have people all over the world. We have connectivity, direct connectivity to all of the big brands, over 400 direct carriers around the world. So I think from a global footprint standpoint, BTS is very well positioned to be the right partner for all of these agreements. Yet, the overestimation, the exaggeration of these deals have forced us to pull out of them. So yeah, I mean, shady players, there's companies that come up, fly by nights, basically. They start, forcing these agreements up and up and up and up and up. Not to say any names, but, it is a constant practice that we see several players, showing up again on these RFPs, and then, the prices just go up. Of course, the operators just open up their eyes, and it's end of the story for us. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we see the markets. Sadly, it's something that that we would like to correct somehow. And what we're doing to correct these things is, again, we're getting closer, or bridging the gap between the big brands, right, with direct connectivity to these guys, and talking to the basically 400 operators that we have direct connections to. We're bringing specific deals, or trying to bring specific deals, different commercials to the table, and we're trying to change the commercial models for, say, longer periods of time, so that we can secure a cost base for all the hyperscalers to have a stable base of costs. Right. Again, zero hop equals zero AIT. If we don't have anybody involved in the process of reselling, pushing fake traffic, then we believe that that's another way in which we can kind of salvage the current trends. Reduce costs to back 3 years ago. It's simple and it's easy. I mean, it worked. They were happy paying what they were paying. It was an assumed cost, right? But whenever you're paying 3 cents and then it goes all the way to 30 cents, it's kind of like, it's out of hand. You kill it, right? So yeah, there's a lot of money in that gap, but it's short-lived. Exactly. So, and again, back to the previous slide, is promote. If we're gonna do A2P agreements, they have to be honest, right? I mean, as an industry, we have to understand that by exaggerating and wanting to win these agreements just by pushing the envelope and just writing a piece of paper is just, it's not gonna take us anywhere. It's really not. So yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to push is, there's not a secret sauce. It's just being honest. It's just being, part of the industry. Again, we've been here for 30 years. We plan to be another 30 years, hopefully. Not me for 30 years. But
We go out.
but yeah, that's kind of what we're doing now. Hopefully, we all can come to an agreement and try to do something together as aggregators in this industry, and try to salvage whatever's left of it. And I think that's about it.
Okay, very good. Let's have a big applause.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Mitch, because I think it's an authentic and true story of what we see around us, especially now in the A2P market, and which is a pity, because we can say, as we did, let's say, in The Voice, we screwed up. Yep. Or we let's say, be there some hooks and some openings to make sure, and you know how it works with people, if there is an exit, people will take that exit, yep. Right? So if it's one straight highway with no exits, zero hop, zero AIT, right? Yep. That's normally. People are people are clever. So thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions to Mitch? You see, you were so clear. Again.
Thank you for not asking questions.
One question. Okay.
Yes, on a point of correction or clarity, there's no Digicel Oceania or South Pacific anymore on the basis of overarching national security concerns in terms of the Quad, which of course is Australia, Britain, US, and India. Japan, India's Quad Plus. The company was not allowed to sell any of its assets to a certain country's carrier. I don't want to name, but you can read through the lines. It was not a Western or a NATO country. So on the basis of national security concerns, Australia instructed Telstra to step in and take over all of the Pacific operations of Digicel. Personally, I would have liked T-Mobile to buy it and buy out the Caribbean. I think we will not. Digicel Caribbean is having financial problems. They're now owned by private capital. I'll tell you, it's a good story not to take your hard-earned shareholders' money and throw it after football and cricket and things that don't make a damn sense. Should have invested it in education, should have invested it in youth programs to help the market of tomorrow, paying it forward. I hope T-Mobile takes my message back to Hodges. The Caribbean, according to the United States government, is the third border of the US. And I definitely don't want Digicel being sold to any Far Eastern companies or Asian companies, no. Either let an American-based company take it, or perhaps a company in Latin America and the Caribbean. Otherwise, we are all going to be in deep trouble. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, talking about the trends and what we're facing, and of course, Mitch, you already mentioned a couple. So let's hear from the other gentleman. And Mario, maybe, you know that, you told us that, listen, I do not have the freshest, most recent things and developments on my radar, but you've been in the market, you know quite very well. And have you ever seen this coming? With the knowledge, and what are your views on it?
Absolutely. Just like Mitch mentioned, we saw it coming with the voice, right? And A2P or the SMS has its use, absolutely. I'm more optimistic that what I think we have suggested now in terms of the market or the availability of players to keep thriving in a market, simply because of the demand of the volume of what I don't consider it's going to be A2P traffic, but it's going to be messaging for sure, one way or another, right? So how is it that the telco ecosystem is going to be part of that after all the trampling that has been going on from the OTT space? Well, I just recent news around. I don't want to introduce a lot of friction over here, but I'm a believer in RCS, or the eventuality of RCS. I wouldn't call it eventuality, I'll call it inevitability of RCS. As you mentioned, if we don't get our act together, then something's going to step up. Something as chaotic as OTT is going to step in to fill the market needs, right? And RCS is designed and proposed to manage that requirement, that demand. And as of late, the challenges that it's had has been slowly but surely ordering into something that is taking form. So I have no doubt that SMS A2P is out the window. It's inevitably gone. It'll serve a purpose as a fallback for RCS. And the proposition, the design of meeting the market demands of application development and rollout can be taken care of by RCS. Now the execution is what needs to happen. But again, I call it an inevitability because it's in the interest of everybody for it to go ahead. It really, like you mentioned, if the ecosystems don't come together and make RCS work and leave this market for the OTT players, which again are very dynamic, are beneficial to some point to the market demand, to the consumer at the end, but it has a lot of dangers too, right? it is, like you mentioned, it's rampant with fraud. There's no authentication, and every day there's more needs for this type of thing. As I see RCS and the ecosystem that would support RCS moving forward to take care of the functionality, the security requirements, and fill up everything that they fall short on compared to OTT, I see the market, commercial and technological, developing to raise more threats to the OTT because of their disorganization. For example, the security threats are going to be more frequent and more sophisticated. So with that said, again, it sounds like yet another RCS promise, but there's been some very important developments around getting close to this evolution, right? Just very recently, Apple OS 18 announced support. That's an enormous game changer.
They signed the Data Act.
Yep.
Yes. The other, I think I got another game changer, which involves everybody here, not only for the messaging, but for actually allowing the telco ecosystem to be an important innovation player. Is for, I don't know if you guys heard about the Ericsson Network API
Yes.
initiative. It's a very important initiative. It's just the fact that this very important players came together into this initiative. Again, we don't know how it's going to work out because at the end of the day, everybody might fight.
We still
right?
need to see.
Yes, we still need to see it pan out. But the intention is there and the need is there. Because if they don't make this together, then we'll get into this fate that we're discussing, which is everything thins out. And that's not what the market is asking for. The market, the enterprise market, the corporate market is asking for an enormous support around quickly rolled out applications and enormous volumes of traffic that are going to be generated into these channels.
Yeah, because and I think that this is exactly the point. The volumes are there. The market is there. It is going to grow massively, and especially with the other features like RCS, RDM, which is there now, and which is only the first couple of 17 countries are working with it, which is fine. But it's coming fast, and but again, we need to make sure that whatever Mitch was talking about, that we try to fix that as soon as possible, as well to make sure we get a little bit more trust back to the enterprises, to the end users, to make sure that, hey, I do not get only the bullshit and the bullshit calls and the bullshit fake messages. We're fed up with this. But it's for us to make sure we make that happen, which is very difficult because there's always this rotten apple who says, you know what? So it's for us in the forums and in the discussions to make it more and more difficult for those guys, and to make sure that we take as much as possible those rotten apples out of the basket, because it is our trustworthiness from, let's say, our end customers, and they're not stupid. We cannot fool them. They say, listen, thank you for the invoice, but it wasn't me, right? So we need to do this something.
Yep.
And then, of course, I mean, RCS is coming. I mean, it was already there 6 years ago, right?
WhatsApp already came.
Yeah, exactly. So, and these guys, they're not waiting.
No.
They're not waiting. It's the same with the submarine back then. They needed all the operators, and the operators was, oh, you need some bandwidth. Oh, yeah, sure. We're going to price you up. You know what? You keep on fooling us. Okay, we keep on paying, but in the meantime, we're going to build our own submarine. And this is exactly what's happening. We are happy to use you, but if you screw us up, sorry for my Dutch, but I'm going to do it myself.
Wasn't it French?
Sort of, yeah. I think everybody understood, right? Everybody understands that word in Dutch, right? So I think this is what we need to do. But moving on a little bit, and maybe Cristiano, I know it's not the messaging, it's not so much your field, but you get it. You know what's right, and especially in the Americas. From your point of view, what's your view on it? What should we do? Yes, we up, right? But so what do you think?
If you allow me, I will move a little bit away from
Please.
the messaging market and talk about what I see as a greater need in our environment. Everybody needs to increase revenue. All service operators need to increase revenue, and they spend a lot of money in networks. They spend a lot of money, infrastructure in general, which they don't want to, and there is a growing market for neutral host networks. They spend a lot of money into the operation of those networks, and sometimes there is incompatibility in the information models that would allow them to easily manage those networks. So operation of the networks is difficult, protection against cyber attacks is difficult, and a short time to market of content and other applications into their ecosystems. So there was one point in this roundtable which I very much relate to, which is APIs. The APIs and how APIs are evolving and how they can help the service providers get more with less investment and a shorter time to market, which is also important. And another thing is how can they streamline their operations and more, have control over the whole amount of different technologies, different players, different companies, partner companies that are in the same ecosystem. So this is something that has been concerning us from the beginning of telecommunications, but it was easier to manage when everything was under one big company. The company owned everything from the access networks to the interconnection networks to the service, to the machines that provided the service. And this is not like that anymore. So companies are not agile enough to provide everything that the public demands. The TM Forum has been, for quite a few decades, actually trying to standardize the procedures and the interfaces to render connecting the service providers to operators, to their customers, okay? But this has not been very easy. The TM Forum, for example, is working now with a model called the Open API model, and this will help, certainly. But if each company has their own business systems, their own operating practices, and needs to develop an API suited for each service that they want to put into the network, suited for each content provider, it becomes very difficult. So one move that we are seeing here in this ecosystem is new concepts that allow the service, the time to market of new services grows if you reduce the time that you need to develop an API, a customization of an API in order to bring that service to the table. And this is what we call universal API gateways. They are usually low-code platforms that allow you to do something once and then repeat it several times without demanding the coding and programming that is usually associated with that. That is one move that we see it. Another thing that is happening in that ecosystem is that you need to have control over the whole, I would say, the whole puzzle of the network. When you start having different technologies and different networks, also the TM Forum and the other forums have been very busy trying to create a means of communication between OSSs in order to demand a service from one end and that this demand is understood by other systems. So this is good and all. But sometimes the view of the network and of the connections is not uniform. So you kind of lose the ability to correctly monitor the connections, right? This is, for example, a function that we call NPMD, Network Performance Monitoring and Diagnostics. There is such a big amount of data coming from the network elements or from their individual operating systems that if you do not relate all this information into one common view of how it affects service, how it affects network operation, and have that information up to date and readily available for your customer, you can do very little in the way of finding out what's happening in the network. And you simply don't have the manpower to analyze things individually. This high amount of information also needs parsing and analyzing the behavior of the network itself and how it relates to the quality of experience that the customers have. So this is what's coming into play right now, and it is in that environment that we are working very hard. For companies like ours, it is a little bit difficult to find the manpower to do those developments. But once we get people writing code and understanding that problem, then we can provide solutions to our customers, which then streamline their operation, render the time to market to very little. For example, there is a partner here from Equal, which is a company dealing with in that ecosystem, and they have a universal API gateway that would be available to you. So if you want to talk more about it, that's the man. Mm-hmm. And for visibility of the network, our COO here, Chief Operations Officer, is there. We have a table. He can do the demonstration of how we integrate the whole network information into a universal model. A universal model as well. And this is what I think is needed to roll out services in a very short time. And this is the way the whole ecosystem is moving. It's moving towards something more universal, easier to put in place. Yeah. Okay.
No, absolutely. So for the other panelists, I mean, maybe they can jump in. How and what can we expect from, what can we expect from the utilizing the APIs in correlations to the new services and the demand? Who wants this?
That's also
that is exactly whatever.
Well,
unless the other gentlemen want to
just step in. Okay, what you need from the APIs, you need to have code, easy code to put them into place, and you have to have universal API gateways where you can translate the compatibility, to provide the compatibility between different companies and their own ideas of what their environment is, make every API able to translate content providers, companies that provide services, even OTT services, to that environment which the company has. So once you have a gateway that does that, the rollout of a new system is very easy. So what you need to have is to have a set of services that compatibilize the technical and the commercial parts of the services into what the service operator has in place.
And that's in an ideal world.
And that is in the ideal.
Mitch?
I think in short, what we need is adoption, right, of the API environment. In BTS, we have started the mobile identity initiatives. As we all know, it's all API based. Again, conversations with Luis, in such a bright guy, right? All he sees is consumption of APIs around the world. And as you're mentioning, is just about a single code that will be able to expand into a number of uses around, right? So in mobile identity, we're talking about eSIMs. eSIMs is all about API connectivity to the operators around the world. It should be relatively easy, and we're somehow in the past complicated it so much. I think API is the solution moving forward. But what we need is adoption. It needs a lot of security around it, right? Not everybody knows how to interact with that new trend.
Well, again, we're not here yet, and I mean, education is one thing, communication to it is a second thing, and then the translation to make sure that people see, hey, listen, you know what, we can make money out of this, and we can capitalize on this one. Right. So, okay, what I want to do is now, guys, yes, please. Hold on 1 second. You know, it's an old guy, you know, my back, you know. Not funny.
Eric, come on.
Not funny.
That's what we needed on this panel, right?
Yeah, Cristiano, you mentioned the TM forum, and Mario, you mentioned the new initiative by Ericsson, led by Ericsson, which is using the Camera initiative. And there's MEF, there's companies that drove standards forward. Where do you see this going? Like, do you see, because you all talked, I think, a little bit about that it needs to be simple, right? And it needs to be uniform for all the MNOs around the world. How do we achieve that? And who are the main drivers?
I was hoping that T-Mobile would have one of the answers. No. That's a good one.
Well,
Gentlemen?
I could tell you what companies that we are doing and developing that with. They have their own business and commercial models and their technical models as well. So we, no matter how much we try to bring everything under one standard, the information models is not compatible, not always compatible. So without the gateway, you cannot do that integration, okay? So you have to have a middleman. And this middleman has to develop that integration in as low-code way as possible. But what you have to do is to have expertise in the business and operational processes of the service operator and understand how you communicate with the content providers. So once you have that, you just have to have a very large number of knowledgeable developers that do that in the beginning. And once you develop that once, you reuse that in other similar applications for other people. Sometimes we have difficulty finding the developers to do that. So that is why our company, for example, is in an initiative of the industry where I live. And we have a residence in software, which is sponsored by the Industry Association and by the technical colleges in our region. So we provide the place of residence, which is the companies that need that knowledge, and we provide the professors. Part of the fees are paid by the government. They provide the environment, and they also have enough money to finance that initiative. So with that, we are graduating 360 people who write code properly, and putting them to work and do residence in the companies that form that industry association. In this way, we can retain them for long enough so that they become productive very quickly, and then they are ready to tackle the market that needs that. But that is a sore point for everybody who does software development.
Plus,
Luckily for us, we're doing that.
Plus, we need the agreement amongst the big guys to make sure, okay, this is the road we're going, and we are committed to go that way. And not only you have a solution, okay, Orange has a solution, BTS has a solution, Verizon has a solution. You know, we need to harmonize that. And then it might work. Might.
It's working.
Because there's always... Mario, sorry?
No, I just wanted to make a comment. Agreeing with everything that has been said today, just complementing it, I guess. Yeah, I think the API, the concept of the API is pretty much adopted. I mean, it's the network of developers catering to the enterprise market and to the corporate market, to be real. So it is a matter of efficiency to deliver, right? And as of late, as of the history of it, you could say that it's not necessarily about price. It's for the development. You know, it's about making it easy for the developers, right? And the pricing or the effectiveness has to do with time to market. At the end of the day, the value of these applications is it's innovation. So it makes no sense of having something innovative and then taking forever to roll it out with mistakes. So I do think I'm a believer in that these consortiums, like you mentioned, yeah. We've been plagued with disorganization, and there may be more than one consortium, but it's towards the right path of organization. You know, away from entropy, and it means that perhaps you'll have different groups. That's fine. So, for example, the Ericsson consortium is about network APIs. You may have banking APIs. But again, there's some form of standardization, and history tells us, you know, all these standardizations are painful processes, but it takes time. But once it's proven to be more effective in terms of the rollout speed, in terms of more secure, in terms of more profitable, because it is, you know, anything that's faster and more secure and higher quality eventually becomes more profitable. So I think those forces will drive the entire market of every player, from the telco to the middleman to the aggregator to the developer into that path.
Okay. Mitch?
Yeah, well, I mean, in our case, to answer your question, is basically, since we have internal software developers, we do a lot of customization, right? I mean, we basically have had to adapt to speak everybody's language into our own, which is time consuming, is resource consuming. And yeah, I mean, as these guys were saying, standardization, adoption, right? Basic common language would be what I think we need to really make this a reality. But I'm really interested in knowing your point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Deutsche Telekom, we were part of the announcement. Yes. We were part of this Ericsson announcement. It's 8 operators around the world, and it's Deutsche Telekom, T-Mobile. It's big other groups, you know, that own many MNOs around the world. So it starts with a pretty big footprint, but it's not all MNOs around the world. So and I think the intention is to have more MNOs join that, and that would provide such a uniform environment where you have one API platform that provides you access to all MNOs for many use cases. So that's of course what we hope now to become successful.
No, but congratulations on that initiative, because it's
Congrats.
I think it's absolutely a good one. Okay, guys. So we talked about, okay, what is, you know, it was the nasty message, right? How the market looks like today. We talked a bit about, okay, what could we do about it? You know, we need to consolidate a little bit to make sure we do our cleanup. Our CS is coming. We know that we, you know, need to harmonize a little bit more and make sure that at least all the big ones, and then the smaller ones will. I mean, if the tier 1s and the tier 2s are happy together and they harmonize whatever they can do, then the tier 3 and 4s will follow, because they have to. Otherwise, hey guys, you want to send me something? You do not comply. Ciao, bye bye, arrivederci. No? Funziona così. So, and then I would have to have, let's say, some last words from my panelist. Starting with Mike.
Thank you,
Please,
sir. Coming from the world's fastest growing economy, Guyana, which is growing at 50% per annum, and we've got 3 mobile operators and what have you, I would like to champion Deutsche Telekom's vision and commitment to the path forward for excellence with this initiative. As the founder, chairman of the Guyana ICT Tech and Innovation Council, and our membership includes the operators, be very happy to endorse and partner with you in highlighting and promoting this initiative, not only within Guyana, but the wider Caribbean Common Market. I remain available as your obedient servant in this regard. Thank you.
Now that is sort of almost a love story, right? The only thing I was missing was the violin, you know? Or the Titanic. Anyway,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Cristiano, some last words. What should we look out for? What a nice takeaway, a positive one, you know?
We've been in this business long enough to know that standardization is necessary, so that we have the ecosystem where we can develop things, certain that everything has been thought out beforehand. So I have been in TMN, for example, the TMN initiative. I witnessed the introduction of ISDN, BISDN, everything, GSM, and up to now. And without this standardization and Ericsson's contributions, especially in the mobile market, very few things would have been done. So it is very important. But even with a firm model, there is always something that we can use later and modify it a little, and there will be differences in the future. With TMN, for example, we could not get the industry to comply with every standard. So there was a need to adapt and a need to translate information models. And this is going to happen always. No matter how good those standards are, there's always something that is an add-on that will be necessary. So there will always be necessary knowledgeable programmers, knowledgeable analyzers, and knowledgeable companies and efficient companies that provide that plus that enables everything to run together.
Thank you. Mario?
So no, I would just, I think we're all getting to agreement around a more optimistic outlook with regards to the growth of the messaging market. I mean, you have to contemplate the potential, right? And the messaging market is just poised to grow. You have the social messaging, you have the business messaging, you have the IoT messaging that is still ripe for explosion. So it's a matter of handling it well. Then the fear of most of the telecom ecosystem has been what we have experienced with the OTT, right? That basically ate our lunch because of slow reaction.
We were sleeping.
Sleeping at the wheel and actually pushing back and so forth. So I don't think that's the case. I think the pendulum have swung to this level, to the level of this type of consortiums. And the market is there. The market is going to grow, and there's space for everybody. Because if anything, the big brands and the developer or the brands catering to development for the different enterprise markets, they don't know this business like we do, right? And they mistook, as a matter of fact, that it was easy, that they could rid the layer. They could get rid of the layer. And they learned their lesson that that's not the case. And you can see it with the valuation of some of these companies. You can see, Facebook tried to launch balloons in India. They don't understand. They think, unless they're willing to go and put antennas on their head and populate the entire planet, they have to understand that they need this layer of infrastructure. So I think this type of organization, intelligent, with all the knowledge, is the painful march towards dumb pipes categorization that's been going on for the last 20 years. Those are very important lessons learned. Now that you see the potential of the APIs for the enterprise market, how you can divide it into different groups and so forth, now it's a matter of organizing and executing.
Thank you so much, Mario. Last famous words, Mitchell. It's up to you.
So resilience, I think it's the key of our industry. We've gone through all these changes, whether we adapt soon, quick, late. We are very resilient. As Mario says, our layer is and will always be needed. We will always, all OTTs around the world, all technology companies, all will need a last mile. They will need connectivity onto the subscriber, to the human being. And we are that part, right? So we just have to, keep the market honest, make sure, right? We all do our little bit to keep it clean, and more importantly, we need to accept change. I was last week at the Claro event, and 17 opcos, and that was what I was trying to pitch to them, right? We neglected or we refused change on voice. We refused the evolution of so many things in the past. You were talking about capacity, subsea cables, everything. I mean, it's time that we learn from our mistakes and that we look forward and we accept that things are going to change. We're going to be challenged, and we're very resilient. There will be business. There's more communications than ever. People communicate more and more as we become more global, and there's going to be a place for us, definitely. We just have to adapt.
Exactly. And with those famous words, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much, dearly, for sitting here with us. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I mean, over there it's full. Nah, here it's full. So thank you for that, and thank you for your trust, and thank you for being at the GCCM Americas this year. So thank you so much. I would like to thank my panelists and my, because they make it happen as well, these panels. So just listening to me is boring anyway. So so thank you so much. Thank you, my dear panelists, and I would like to thank BTS for sponsoring this session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and my regards to Ricardo and everybody. And you know what? I think there's lunch. So let's go for it.
I hope they can bring these types of events to Guyana. We have 25 new hotels being built. You can connect from Europe. You can connect soon from the Middle East. There are 3 flights daily out of New York, 2 out of Miami. There are flights also from Toronto, from London. Guyana is not far away. You will enjoy all the rum.
Thank you so much. And just for your knowledge, every year the GCCM, the care community, is in Rio, in Brazil. So that's already close. We're doing our best.
We are bringing you where you can have fun and you can make money.
Thank you so much. Let's go to eat.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.